What do you think?
Well, first of all, I'm just, I marvel at Dana White simply because, you just wish that boxing over the years had a promoter like this guy. Obviously, he runs the UFC, but he definitely specializes in giving people the fights that they want to see when they want to see it. You don't have to wait years for things to get done when Dana White's involved. Somehow, some way, he finds a way to get things done. He negotiated Conor McGregor's portion, then had to go over to Money Mayweather and Al Heyman and those guys and found a way to get that done. Al Heyman obviously has a lot to do with this. Floyd has everything to do with it. He's told me on numerous occasions the only fight that he was interested in having was with Conor McGregor because Floyd is a businessman. He's doing this for the money. It's just that simple. He doesn't need the money, but he loves to make the money. That's why he calls himself Money Mayweather. And he told me personally on several occasions, whether it's on the air on First Take, on my radio show on ESPN Radio, or privately, he's not ever fighting for less than 9 figures again. It's a minimum of $100 million to get Floyd Mayweather in a ring professionally. And he believes that Conor McGregor is the one person that can deliver that for him. Not to mention the fact that one of the things that Floyd has repeatedly told me on and off the record is that it was incredibly taxing for him to have to handle the promotional side of things in the past because he's the better talker, he's the better trash talker. Obviously, he's willing to get in folks' face, talk that talk, and then back it up. And it was very, very few people that could match him in that regard, whether it would be Manny Pacquiao, to the Ricky Hattons of the world, to Canelo Alvarez or anybody else. They couldn't match it. He loves the fact that Conor McGregor talks so much smack because he thinks that Conor McGregor is going to take a load off of his shoulders from the promotional and marketing perspective. And as a result, he'll have an opportunity to focus even more on actually fighting, which obviously in his eyes spells complete doom for Conor McGregor.
Okay, Al Heyman, by the way, for those of you that may not be aware, is Mayweather's longtime advisor and obviously instrumental in making this happen, as Stephen A. referenced Al Heyman. You cover all sports for us here. You just came fresh off the NBA Finals. You can opine on everything. So I wonder where this fight, when it lands on August 26th, where it stands on the sports calendar in terms of all things sports fans look forward to in 2017.
Well, it's going to be number one at the moment, at that particular moment in time, simply because as great as America's national pastime, which is Major League Baseball, as great as that may be, it really elevates and escalates come October and beyond. Prior to that, you're not looking at it the same way. It's going to be number one on the calendar, and it depends how it goes down. I think it'll be box office. I think that, folks will clamor to the fight. It will break pay-per-view records. As if you're a pugilist, a pure pugilist, and you love the sport of boxing, then obviously you're looking more forward to Canelo Alvarez versus Triple G on September 16th. There's no doubt about that. But since this is weeks before that, and it's not necessarily competing with it, you're going to find yourself clamoring to this fight as well, because both guys are individuals whose greatness you clearly appreciate, but you also can't stand them, and you would love to see one or the other lose. And in this particular instance, I guarantee you there are more people who are going to want to see Floyd Money Mayweather fall than Conor McGregor, because he had just lost by submission to Nate Diaz last November. So you got to take that into consideration as well. They've seen Conor McGregor lose before. Floyd Money Mayweather is 49-0. He constantly reminds you of his flawlessness, and there has been nobody in the sport of boxing who can touch him. I don't see how Conor McGregor is going to touch him. But Dana White is absolutely right when he says this. When Conor McGregor hits people, they fall. I was at that Eddie Alvarez fight, first UFC fight at MSG. The man hit Eddie Alvarez 3 times in the first round. All 3 times he fell. He got up, and then he caught him with a 4-punch combination, and it was over at that particular moment in time. The dude is a knockout artist. He is a southpaw. I don't believe he's going to beat Floyd, but it's because I don't believe he's going to touch Floyd. If he lucks up and happens to touch Floyd, who knows? That's the intrigue.
Floyd, 49-0, came out of retirement for this. Last fight against Andre Berto in the fall of 2015. And as Stephen A. mentioned, last time we saw McGregor in November. We had Dana White on earlier. We're going to get Dana White back in just a moment, so UFC fans, hang tight for that. But on the other side of this, because this is also a boxing component, Stephen A., you follow the sport 24/7, 365. What is the buzz in the boxing community over this being official?
Well, they're disgusted. They're disgusted because the whole mentality is that we're talking about, with all the great fighters that may be out there, you got young lions like Errol Spence Jr., my favorite, Terrence Crawford, another one of my favorites, the Keith Thurmans of the world, Canelo Alvarez, Triple G, Ward and Kovalev fighting this Saturday in their rematch. You've got a lot of great boxers out there, and Floyd is considered the best of them all. And so when you look at it from that perspective and considering the quality of opponents he went into the ring with and flat out schooled with his defensive brilliance as a boxing magician, to give a UFC fighter who's never boxed in his life an opportunity to even step into the ring with Floyd Money Mayweather is an insult to the boxing community, as Oscar De La Hoya echoed and elocuted just weeks ago. To their eyes, it's a disgrace from a boxing perspective. But we all know they would love to get the money that Floyd Money Mayweather is getting for this fight, because it's going to be in excess of $100 million. There's not a single boxer on the planet who would turn down the opportunity to make those dollars. And because of that reality, even though they don't like it, they have to respect it, because they're not just fighting to fight. They're fighting to be elite so they can ultimately get paid. And here is a dude who has been elite, who has gotten paid, and who deserves whatever money he's able to make in a boxing ring, regardless of who he fights against. So they can't really say anything. They may not like it, but they have to respect the business side of it all. And Floyd Money Mayweather is proving yet again he is all about his business, and he has done it on this level better than anybody we've ever seen in a squared circle.
How about that? The business component obviously is huge. We got Stephen A's First Take tonight. There'll be plenty more to talk about on First Take tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. But Stephen A., I want you to hang tight here. We're going to bring Dana White back into the conversation. Apologize for the technical difficulties earlier, Dana. Thanks for coming in. I want to just ask you something Stephen A. just said. He said in the boxing community, these are Stephen A.'s words, this match is, quote, disgusting to people in boxing and a complete disgrace. What do you say to that?
Well, I think that, I don't know how many people really feel that way. Oscar feels that way because Oscar didn't get the fight. If I was doing this deal with Oscar right now, he'd be far from disgusted. I promise you that one. But at the end of the day, anybody who knows anything about fighting, when two men get in there and they square off and they start throwing punches, anything is possible. Anything is possible. And this isn't one of those things where we put together, some type of crazy fight for no reason. This is a fight that the fans demanded. The fans wanted to see this fight. It's the most talked about fight on the planet right now, and it will be the biggest fight ever in the history of two people punching each other. So they can be as disgusted as they want. It's what people want to see.
Stephen A., let's bring you back into the discussion. Dana's point was simply, if Oscar was a part of this, he wouldn't be saying that, neither would most of the boxing community. What are your thoughts on that?
He's absolutely right. And listen, represent my position very, very clearly. You asked me a question about what the boxing community feels like. Dana White alluded to what the public is demanding. He's absolutely positively on the money. And Dana knows that I'm right, just like I know he's right. There are people outside of the boxing ring that have been clamoring for this fight for at least the last year. It's primarily what they talk about. But in the boxing community, you have folks within that community that feel it's an insult for a guy like Floyd Money Mayweather to give an opportunity to a UFC fighter who's never been in the boxing ring. That's how they feel. That's the argument that they're making. And he's also right about the fact that if this were Oscar De La Hoya making this fight instead of Dana White with Money Mayweather and obviously Conor McGregor, if this was Oscar De La Hoya and he was a part of this and he had an opportunity to make the money that this fight is projected to make, he would be very, very happy with a huge smile on his face. So Dana White is absolutely right about that. But I also think Oscar's right in terms of how folks within the boxing community feels. I think Oscar was real and authentic with saying what he said. But I also think that he would still have a smile on his face if he had an opportunity to make that money, despite how he feels the fight shouldn't happen. If he had an opportunity to make money off of it, he certainly would not have turned it down. So nobody's wrong with what they're saying.
Dana, anything there?
And just so you know, so this fight, yeah, and the thing is this, for the boxing community to be disgusted, first of all, it's about the fans. What do the fans want to see? And if you're a fan of combat sports, this is the greatest end of the year ever. Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor are going to fight. Triple G is going to fight Canelo. I got a great lineup for the rest of this year, and so does boxing. So at the end of the day, I mean, all these guys, the thing that upset me about Oscar De La Hoya is he comes out and starts asking fans not to buy the fight. What?
That's fair.
What is that? First of all, number one. Number two, it's an incredible opportunity for fans of combat sports for the end of this year. There's so many great fights, and you know, because sometimes there's big runs and big gaps between big fights. We have nothing but a great lineup at the end of this year, and everybody should be thrilled, including the boxing guys and Oscar De La Hoya.
Steve, let me throw this in and say this about Dana White right here. See, this is why I've always said anybody that's a fight of pugilism, you got to love Dana White, because what's the first thing I said when his mic went dead? I said, hey, the man gives people the fights that they want to see. And what he's essentially saying by saying what he just said about Oscar De La Hoya, it's not for other people to decide what the public should want. It's for folks in these respective sports, whether it's the UFC or boxing, to give the people what they want, because we are the paying customer. When you look at the UFC, the one thing that's undeniable about Dana White, and why I must sit here and absolutely applaud him, he doesn't wait forever to give us the fights we're clamoring for. We ask for it, he delivers it, and he makes his fighters get up in that octagon and fight. What's the problem with boxing? Boxing historically has procrastinated in terms of dragging their feet and making us wait for the fights that we truly want to see. Now, in Oscar De La Hoya's case, he didn't wait that long. He delivered on this Canelo Alvarez Triple G fight September 16th. Major props to him, because he said he was going to do it before 2017 expired, and he delivered. But far too often than not, whether it's Mayweather, Pacquiao, or anybody else, one of the things that has hurt boxing is they've kept us waiting entirely too long for fights that we clamored for to actually happen. And as a result, even when they did happen, we found ourselves questioning who is beyond their prime. Did they take too much punishment? Did we have to wait too long? Did we miss out on what really would have happened if both of them had fought in their prime? Dana White and the UFC does not do that, and they deserve our profound respect for that.
Well said. The wait is over. About 2 months. Stephen A. said sometimes you got to wait forever, but now the countdown clock is on a little over 2 months. The great perspective of Stephen A. Smith. Stephen, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And Dana, I got one more for you real quick. I think a lot of fans are wondering this. No matter what happens in this fight on August 26th, are we going to see Conor McGregor in UFC again?
I think we will. You know, obviously, you know, Conor and I have been talking a lot throughout this negotiation, and he wants to turn around and fight again this year. And that's, after he fights Floyd, he wants to turn around and fight again this year, and that's one of the million reasons why people love Conor McGregor.
Last thing, I kind of lied. Since you brought up the word millions, let me bring it up. Stephen A. basically said $100 million for Floyd. That's what Floyd personally told him it would take for him to step back in. From the money side, from Conor's perspective, what can you tell us?
Well, I can tell you from everybody's perspective on every side, everybody's happy with this deal. You know, I don't think anybody is bummed out about this deal. Everybody, first of all, the negotiations with Floyd were great. You know, everything went smooth with Conor. It went a lot easier than I thought it would go, and everybody's walking away from this thing happy.
No question. It took the UFC, it took William Morris, it took Al Heyman, Dana White, most importantly, Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor to make it happen. T-Mobile, August 26th, Las Vegas, the fight of the year. And as Dana said, the most anticipated fight when any two people end up swinging at each other. Dana, thank you so much for your perspective tonight.
Thank you.